We're starting with the verdict in the Rittenhouse trial.
Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
A Wisconsin jury has acquitted Kyle Rittenhouse of all charges for the deaths of two men and the wounding of another during a night of violent protests in Kenosha back in August of last year. The jury ultimately had to decide whether the case against the armed, out-of-state teenager boiled down to self-defense or vigilantism. We're going to Kenosha in southern Wisconsin. CBS News correspondent Michael George is there showing us what happened inside and outside the courtroom today.
Kyle Rittenhouse is back home. He's a free man. His lawyer says he wants to put all this behind him. Now the city of Kenosha is talking about how to put this behind them. The National Guard is on standby in case of unrest, but so far it hasn't been needed. There have been no reports of violence.
Kyle H. Rittenhouse.
Kyle Rittenhouse started to shake, cry, and then fell to the floor as the jury finished reading its verdict. Not guilty on all charges. The 18-year-old was acquitted of 5 felony charges in the shooting deaths of Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber, and for wounding a third man, Gage Grosskreutz.
He has to get on with his life the best he can. I think eventually some anonymity will come back to it.
Outside the courthouse, there are about 50 protesters, and the moment the verdict was read, there were cheers from those in the crowd who support Kyle Rittenhouse. Even some passing cars were honking their horns. But among those here who believe Rittenhouse should be convicted, there was silence. Some told us this was not the outcome they wanted, but it is one they expected.
It shows that we can be gunned down in the street and there are no consequences.
What are your thoughts on the verdict?
I'm happy. I think he's not guilty.
Many continue to debate the verdict, passionately but peacefully.
If you had to fight for your life and defend yourself, absolutely. And I would defend you in that right.
You can defend me all you want. I'll never get out if I did the same thing he did.
The shootings took place during a night of protests over police violence against black people in the summer of 2020. Rittenhouse arrived at the protest with an AR-style semi-automatic rifle and told jurors he was there to help.
I didn't do anything wrong. I defended myself.
He said he killed 2 people. How do you admit it? How do you acknowledge it? And there are no consequences.
The jury had deliberated for about 3.5 days before acquitting the 18-year-old. And the parents of Anthony Huber, one of the men who was killed, said in a statement, "Today's verdict means there is no accountability for the person who murdered our son." In Kenosha, Wisconsin, Michael George. Reka, back to you.
Michael, a lot of tension surrounding this trial, the verdict coming down a few hours ago. But what is the mood like right now on the ground?
Passionate, but it has remained peaceful. We've seen a lot of protesters remain here for hours after the verdict, and there have been arguments, sometimes very heated, but so far there has not been any reports of any violence.
That is good to hear. And Michael, there is a possibility, or is there a possibility rather, of an appeal in this case, or even a civil suit going forward?
Well, further criminal charges are not possible for Rittenhouse. Federal charges seem unlikely given the nature of this crime. However, yes, there is the possibility that the families of the people killed could file civil charges. They haven't yet indicated that they will do so, but that is always a possibility going forward.
All right, Michael George in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Thank you so much.
And Governor Abbott seemed to be watching the trial. He spread the news on Twitter within minutes of the verdict being read.